Hi, I'm Matt from Interformula, and welcome to our Research and Development Centre. We do all forms of research and development, all the way from designing and developing our own race cars, to simulators, to running cars in racing series and rallying all over the world. We also do a lot in the Asian Classic Car Championship, so do look out for us. For any information, do contact us with the number down below.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 4 of the 2020 Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship Season 2 with these wonderful Kia Optimas, as you can see here, with our current team lineup. The Toyota Motorsports guys are really pushing very hard to get up to the top of the field, but the Outhouse FCR Performance team is still pushing hard to keep their guys up there, but there's still quite a few challenges in this pack. Now we're going to have a look at the round 3 podium. Ilham Halabi takes it home for the win for Toyota Motorsports, taking home that 100 ringgit Precision Sim Racing product voucher for his win, and elevating the Toyota Motorsports team just a little bit further ahead in the championship. Arif Roslan, very unlucky for him. He was leading for a good bit of the race, but now he is still going to be very happy with his position. P2 for Arif Roslan, taking home that 50 ringgit Works Engineering product voucher. And in third place, Android King Toyota SSAD driver Kelvinder Singh, bringing it home in a cool, calm and collected manner. Easily taking home that 50 ringgit Android King product voucher for his efforts. And now we're going to have a quick look at the top 10 points standings for the drivers. Jasri Jali is in first position still for Outer House FCR Performance Team A. Ilham Halabi is in second place for Toyota Motorsports. 75 points, place 71. Only 4 points in between these two drivers. It's going to be very exciting indeed, but only 15 points behind for the leader. Dominic Ang for Team URT Black, he's still got a very good chance of claiming the top position should anything happen to the top two this weekend. Mohamed Hafiz Kamaruddin, Michael Hafiz of Toyota Motorsports, their team leader, is in fourth place, doing very well for himself all throughout this season. These Kia Optimas really suiting his driving style. In fifth place we have Ruben Wong for Team URT Pink, followed by Zafri Zainuddin, Afizul Jai, Arif Roslan, Nazmi Mazli and Eddie Adrian. And in the team's championship, 125 plays, 117. Toyota Motorsports is in first position, followed by Outer House FCR Performance Team A. Still very close between the two of them. It would not take a very big mistake indeed for the positions to change. I can assure you of that. That is less than 30 points between them, which means a win could swing it either which way. Toyota Motorsports Asia, the satellite team, is in third position, followed by Team URT Pink, Android King Toyota SSAD, Padawan SRCB, SSAD Go Racing Gen Y, Team URT Black, Outer House FCR Performance Team B, and Padawan SRCA. A couple of new drivers will be entering this, chief amongst which the Club Automobilista Hermanos Veloces have Surin Salvaraju from Singapore as their new driver, so look out for him tearing up the tracks out there. And this is the race circuit that they will be taking on. Originally, when it was built, it was called the TI AIDA circuit, 3.7 kilometers long, 11 turns in all. This was the third of the racetracks in Japan to have ever hosted a Formula One championship. In fact, it was the shortest racetrack in Asia to ever host a Formula One race. It hosted the 1994 and 1995 Pacific Grand Prix. Nowadays being used more for domestic competitions like Super Formula and Super GT, but often has international races coming in from series such as the WTCR Championship. And now we head over to the track. A wonderful day for racing for these drivers. It's looking like it's going to be a very interesting race indeed. So far, Nigel Chua is out there in the front during this practice session, followed by Saiful Arifin, Afizul Jai, Jeswan Jali, and Chong right up there. Jay Chong in 5th position. Nazmi, Lloyd, Azri, Shamir, and Adrian make up the top 10, with James Russell and Ilham Halabi just behind. You can see there, absolutely close racing up there. The top 15 covered by, in fact, the top 18 drivers covered it by a single second. So it's going to be very close indeed. Joining me in the studio right now is our co-commentator for this evening, Chan Wei Han.
I think he's not ready yet. Hi, Wei Han.
He's there somewhere. We'll give him a chance to plug the microphone into the jack there for a second. We're running a little bit.
Yes, hi everyone.
There we go.
Sorry I'm late, but yeah, well, looks like we're still in Japan. You know, we've come to Japan yesterday and we're still here today. And I'm just looking forward to these guys taking the car out on such a track like that. You know, okay. Oh, okay.
Absolutely. And as Weihan sets himself up right now for this a second there, we haven't got too far to go from yesterday's race. As you guys remember, the Merdeka race. We do have the highlights of the last part of the race on YouTube for those of you guys who want to watch and bask in what has been a very entertaining race indeed. But surely to follow, this is going to be an absolutely entertaining race right here, right now. Jay Chung definitely has taken a liking to this track. He is doing much better than he has been for the last couple of rounds. Perhaps he's found the secret to hustling these Kia Optimas around quite quickly indeed. So he is one to watch at the sharp end of the field. James Russell, in fact, also has come up to 7th position. Lloyd Lachlan has gone up as well. Looks like the lap times are beginning to tumble. So perhaps we might see a 1:34 lap time for pole position. You never know. Thanks a lot to Erwan Shafiq for liking and sharing the stream. And for those of you who want to get together and have a chat about the race, do leave a comment down below. And whilst you're there, like and share the stream and spread that sim racing love around. Meanwhile, Tuku Ershad, who did so well during that Merdeka National Day special race that we had yesterday, he will be invigorated, no doubt, and will be trying to push that Kia Optima as hard as it'll go. Tuku Ershad, the kind of driver that perhaps sort of prioritizes race pace from single lap speed, so perhaps you might not see him qualify as well, but he will race very well indeed. You can be definitely sure of that.
So as we have a look at the qualifying, my audio is good now, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Alright, that's great.
Hi, Wei Han.
Hey, Cairo. Yeah, so we have qualifying lap times in the ballpark of, well, almost everyone is in the 1:35 minute range. So, you know, we've yet to see a 1:34 take place during this practice session. You know, if we do see one, I think that'll be really nice and that'll be really interesting.
Absolutely, and it's amazing to see the top 21 cars are separated by less than a second. The racing here just gets closer and closer and closer. Everyone is getting on to up to speed with these cars. You can see that Dominic Ang throwing the car around and putting a little bit of rallying flavour into turn 2 there. But it just goes to show how hard everyone is pushing these touring cars around.
Because with these big front-wheel drive touring cars, you see these cars racing here for the last couple of Sunday nights, and you've seen how they can in fact present such different quite a different style of racing. You do have these cars are not exactly as fast as some of the GT cars that you'll see, but they very much provide such close racing that you don't exactly find anywhere else other than the MX-5s.
Absolutely. The combination of a very neutral downforce and a very large car means that slipstreaming maneuvers become quite a bit easier, but these cars get very hard for a lot of racing drivers to get a hold of, simply because it's not very often that you have a front-wheel drive car this powerful.
So he's now coming upon, if you do have a look at the layout of the Okayama circuit, there are two main stretches. So those two main stretches where you see them relying on slipstreams, and this is kind of the infield section of the short circuit itself. So this is where it's more important to kind of get the position of your car right, as this is also where overtaking can happen if you do take your lines right.
Absolutely. So you can overtake quite easily around here, but of course with the width of the circuit, some parts are very wide indeed. The track was upgraded back in the mid-90s, but there are some sections that do feel a little bit claustrophobic as well, so you have to be super accurate. And these long constant radius corners will also present another challenge during the race, and that is tire wear. Now perhaps this track not the most heavy on fuel consumption throughout the season, but definitely tire wear is going to play a factor during the race with these very long, very punishing corners.
As I try to sort out some issues that's happening on my OBS, I do rely on it for the overlays. This is Azam Azni. He's from Padawan SRC Team B, and he has a qualifying lap time of 1:36.255. Look, his lap time is just 1 second behind the pole sitter, or rather the fastest lap, and that's already enough to kind of set him all the way down to the mid-pack of the field. So this does go to show how closely packed together the drivers are in terms of pace.
Absolutely. You had Shami Azri, Azli, Muhammad Dali, and Jai Bluebird there, Afizul Jai, liking the stream. Thanks for those likes and shares, guys. And Nazmi Mazli there just had a comment down in the comment section below. Good luck. Nice to see the community come together and give everyone a bit of a pat on the back before battling hard during the race.
So we're now riding with Kelvinder Singh, and he's also one of the fast drivers that we do have to keep an eye out for. So usually we would see him put some lap times up on the pointy end of the grid, and at this time he's currently set around 32nd in terms of lap time. So I think as this track isn't exactly short, it does mean that the lap differences between the drivers will be kind of a little further apart as compared to various other rookie tracks that we would be familiar with, such as Lime Rock Park and Summit Point. So he's now going for a full throttle run down this back stretch, and this is where as he reaches the breaking point, this is where you can expect some sudden overtaking attack moves, and it goes a little bit deep in the corner. But of course, with this being front wheel drive, I guess it does handle a little bit differently.
Absolutely, there you can see him very interestingly trying that V-shaped approach to the hairpin, which sometimes works and sometimes does not. Perhaps these Kias might be a little bit more amenable to that sort of driving into the corner, rotating it around the apex, and then firing it out of the corner in as straight a line as possible. Now coming through this section here, you can see he's rotating the car. That means he's using the back end of the car. He's deliberately losing a little bit of grip in order to steer the car around through this final two corners here. A little bit of old school Saab / Mini driving there. to get Kelvinder back onto the main stretch, and let's see if he can improve on his lap time.
So does in fact push his own lap time to a 1:36.444, but he still sits in 30 seconds. So, you know, now he's coming upon the slipstream of another car in front of him. So that could kind of change things up a little bit. Now, you know, with this track being a little wider and, you know, offering a little bit more space as compared to some of the other tracks, you know, you would expect drivers to have a little bit of an easier time going around this track.
Absolutely, and now we watch one of our top 10 drivers, Lloyd Lachlan. He's definitely improved by leaps and bounds considering his performances from the first series right up till now. And it's great to see some of these drivers go from the back of the grid to the front, definitely improving step by step. But Lloyd there still very quick indeed. A 1:35.6 puts him up into 9th position. He might be a factor in qualifying. And so will this man, Ilham Halabi, 1:35.796. Could we see him try for a qualifying lap, or will he do that sneaky little thing where he tries to start from the back of the grid?
So we're of course used to seeing Ilham, you know, move through the field pretty much in most of the races that he enters. So he would always rack up so many positions gained. So, you know, it'll be very nice to see him do it again. That is, if he decides to set a lap time that will enable him to go further back down the field. But if not, if he does set a much faster lap time, he would find himself along the front end of the grid.
Absolutely, and you know he has the ability to do so. Right now, it looks to me at least that he's not pushing the car that much harder. A lot of these drivers, of course, will be doing longer runs. They'll be focusing on fuel consumption and tyre wear, whereas some of the drivers might be a little bit more tempted to push the cars hard and do a bit of a qualifying simulation right here. Nazim Masli going a little bit wide there. Perhaps he is one of the drivers who's going to be pushing his car very hard indeed during this practice session.
Making good use of the curbs around there, and you know, one thing about this track is at that second to last corner that he came around, you know, you are able to kind of cheat a little bit and kind of cut a bit of the curb if you want to get a slightly faster line through that corner. Some people do that, and you know, it'll be interesting to see if some of the drivers do decide to pull that off. It comes upon the first corner now. With the first corner, you know, the apex is kind of later than it would seem because it's quite a long corner, and so is this one. So, you know, with these corners you do have to arc your corner entry a little later in order to execute it well.
Absolutely, the late entry, focus on the exit sort of mantra that front wheel drive touring car drivers have grown to learn and to love in some certain aspects. Will definitely be coming into play here. Now, the key with these cars is to try and not have too much steering lock on when you get on the throttle there. So a little bit of a later entry and later arc into the corner will help that indeed.
I've noticed that the drivers do kind of they do seem to take their cars quite deep into the corner and not exactly hit all the apexes. Would that be kind of down to the way that these touring cars handle differently from many other cars that we used to see?
Absolutely. With a front-wheel drive car, like I was saying, you drive the car basically off the front end. Because the front wheels are both steering the car and pulling the car forwards, you do have to sort of change your mindset ever so slightly. And a lot of these drivers will be trying some fairly strange things in order to gain an advantage. Nasby here turning the car in a little bit, aiming the car in for the apex very early indeed, just to try and introduce the car into the corner before he tries to make that apex. But yeah, these touring cars, and especially with the setups, the drivers aren't able to change the setup for this series. It's all fixed setup, so the adjustments that as a driver some of these guys would be tempted to make are not available to them. The cars are absolutely identical, so it's about the driver having to drive around this rather unique car.
Now have a look at Cypher Arifin in his very nice looking white Todak Motorsports livery. It does look like there's a shark on that logo, I would think. I don't recall seeing him. A Merlin. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I don't exactly recall seeing him in this paint scheme, or maybe I've not been following this race too attentively. His lap time is quite a very fast 1:35.252. Well, it looks like Saiful is fast in whatever car that he kind of lays his hands on.
Absolutely, it just goes to show the experience that Saiful Arifin brings to the table to any team he is racing with, if I'm not mistaken. However, just as an aside, our director might be able to comment on this, but I believe Toda is in fact Malay for Merlin, although I could be wrong. Oh, there you go. He's just confirmed that yes, for those of you who are wondering, Toda means Merlin, and that's why we have a Merlin, aka the swordfish, on the logo of the car. The more you know, eh?
Yeah. I think it'll probably be him. It's probably trying to get him to swim his way to victory, swim his way around the corners, and I think more than ever with these cars, you need all the grip that you need, and being a fish in water does help.
Hey, but yes, who knows? That might bring a little bit of luck, perhaps as well in slipstreaming, as we know. A lot of fishers have been very well known for their drag reduction. There was a study done by Mercedes many moons ago about what the most aerodynamic animal was, and I believe it was in fact the fish.
Wow, I would imagine, given that the fact that the fluids, the water fluids, do require much a body that's much more aerodynamic. Given that it's probably even it's probably much stickier than air is in terms of fluid. So that'll be very interesting that's very interesting finding. So it's quite surprising that we don't really see cars designed after fish body shapes. Neither are they designed after the shapes of birds, but they do very much. Some cars they do embody elements of some like water drop shape and stuff.
Absolutely. We're going to head off to a quick break right now. The quickest driver so far, Nigel Arifin, followed by Saiful, Jasrin, Jai, and Chong. That is your top 5. But we will head into this quick commercial break, and we will see you all in a minute. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to round 4 of the adrenaline-packed iRacing Malaysia Championship Season 2 with these Kia Optimas, and we're now into the qualifying session. Right as we head around the corner and onto the back straight there, Matthew Graham back in that URT machine. A special thanks to our sponsors, Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision, Sim Racing, Android King, and our supporter for this season, the Motorsports Association of Malaysia. I'm Max Palmer, and with me in the studio is Chan Weha.
Yes, and we're going to have a look at some of the drivers who are making their way around the track. So, of course, this is a 15-minute 4-lap closed qualifying session, as usual, as we always do. This is Nigel Choi. He's going to come around the start-finish line, and, he's not... Oh, he has set a lap time of 1:35.802, and that does put him in 5th position, as some of the other drivers do set their lap times.
Absolutely, you can see some pretty quick lap times out there already. Amir Faridian has provisional pole position for right now, but he has just lost it to Saiful Arifin, who is going around there. Kavinder Singh, this will be an interesting run through the track right now. He'll be pushing as hard as he can in order to try and get up into the upper positions. Meanwhile, Matthew Graham, and I believe that was Mecha Hafiz who completed that last lap as well.
So as we're just scrubbing along some of the cars and having a look at who's setting down the pace, this is Ake Basaram. He did set a lap time of 1:37.772. So quickly already we have a good portion of the grid that have dialed in their qualifying lap times. So they're all hovering around the 1:35, 1:36 range, and of course we're now coming to a 5-minute mark, which means that drivers are probably around their second lap, running their second lap here within this qualifying. So we're now with Ruben Wong, who's a very fast driver on this series, a real-life racing driver as well. His previous lap time was 1:41.436, but that was probably because he was doing his out lap. So let's stick with him for a while for this instant, as we look at him take the next few corners. So around the final few corners he goes. It's all about trying to get your line right through these sections. So this is a high-speed second to last right-hander, and he's going to brake once more for this final corner, and let's have a look if he's able to best his previous lap time to improve his qualifying position, and will come around the start finish line with a lap time of 1:36.179, so that pushes him up all the way up to 16th.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic early run from Ruben Wong indeed. Now we have a few other drivers coming through the grid there. Soren Morafudian looks like he might be in a quick lap time. So as this guy. Sorry about that. So. Sorry about that, guys. I may have jumped the gun a little bit there. It's an occasional problem I have. But Major Hafiz there, he is a man who's very comfortable driving front-wheel drive cars. In fact, in the real world of motorsports, that is his speciality: K cars and front drive touring cars. So let's have a look at his driving technique through the final 2 sectors of this lap. Again, he's a slightly more classical driver, likes to take the constant arc throughout the corner there, and really hugs that apex. A lot of drivers just clip the apex momentarily, but he likes to hang on to that apex a little bit longer. Perhaps not too keen on running the car over the inside curves of the last 2 corners of the lap. They're very neat indeed. Let's see where that puts him. It's a 1:35, 1:36, 1:38. So unfortunately, Michael Hafiz is not able to improve his lap time there, but perhaps he's just warming up to go right again.
Now we're with Wicked, and he currently sits in 22nd. So we have a look at him taking his lines very gracefully indeed as well. So at this point, it's all about trying to get the most efficient line through the different corners. Over here, you can in fact take a deeper line along the exit, because right here it's all about trying to get the speed through this backstretch. I know you would see a lot of very interesting overtaking moves. In fact, cars can overtake along the outside through that corner, and now he's going to come upon the braking zone for the tightest hairpin on this track. And you know, he does that well. And you know, as we have a look at some of the other lap times, Saiful Arifin did improve his lap time to 1:35.225, and so did Shamir Aizan 1:35.595. So the top drivers are all within that range.
Absolutely, you can see there Wicked Low has a slightly different driving style. He likes to square off the corners. He'll try and dive and try and take the closest path possible to the apex, rotate the car around a point as much as he can, and then try and square off the exit as well. So let's see him through the faster corners. They're going to look a little bit more similar, but you can definitely see the driving style comparison writ large throughout the tighter sections. So let's see what Wicked Low is able to pull off here, coming up across the line, and he has set a time of 1:37.192. Unfortunately, he does not improve on his 22nd position.
So now with Aslan Marab, who is in 14th position, 1:35.918, pretty fast indeed. So he does the final few corners again, and I think this will be one of those sections on the track where you can evaluate the driving styles of different drivers, and he decides to take it into the pits, probably bailing for another lap.
Absolutely. Let's see who else is out on track. Arif Roslan, a very quick driver indeed. Let's see how he takes this hairpin. Again, dead straight. Again, a very different driving style from his SSAD teammate. He likes to brake in a straight line, do as much of his braking in a straight line as possible, just to use up all the traction he can before pitching the car into the corner. Again, you'll see him here. He hugs the outside quite a bit and that's just to try and make the radius of the corner a little bit wider. Again, going out of this section here. Let's see how brave he is over the curbs here. A little bit of curb coming in through the first of those final two corners. A lot of the curb on the final corner there. He runs the car as wide as you possibly can. This may be quick, judging by how fast he is on the back half of the circuit there. Let's have a look at his lap time. And unfortunately, he does not improve on his 18th position.
So we've got not many drivers who are still out on the track, a handful of drivers only, and it would appear someone's gone off track there. We've got a handful of drivers who are still, in fact, yet to set their qualifying lap time. So, you know, we have a huge server here tonight, 47 drivers who have registered. And we will have a look at Tengku Irsyad as he takes the track as well. So Tengku Irsyad is in 13th, 1:35.910. You know, I think he's been there for some time already. So as he takes the next few corners, we will have a look also at how differently he drives as compared to some of the other drivers. So maybe a bit difficult to tell from here because it's rather straight. And he now comes upon this right-hander. So this is where, you know, you can decide. You can have multiple racing lines through the exit of this corner. You can take it tight if you want to get some speed, or you can also take it loose if you want to get even more speed down into this backstretch.
Absolutely, and now the litmus test, that infield section, which has been so enlightening so far throughout this session. Tengku Irsyad very wide on the entry, but he does turn in a mite earlier than some of the other drivers perhaps would, but that means he's on the correct side of the course for this corner here. Again, he's just perhaps feeling himself out a little bit there. It looks like he may have perhaps slowed down a little bit, but you can still see his driving style. Again, it's sort of a mixture between Arif Roslan and Michael Hafiz's, perhaps trying to find that nice middle ground.
So let's see him square off the final few corners. Of course, you know, with these cars you don't need to take the apex that much, and he comes around the final corner. So his lap time to beat is 1:35.910. That's his previous best lap time. So he will come across the start-finish line with a lap time of 1:30. Unfortunately, he would appear not to have bested his lap time. His last time was 1:36.98, so he retains his 13th position. So now we're going to have a look at Zainul Hazim. He's yet to set a qualifying lap time. Let's hope that he does do one at this point. So as he comes across the 2 hairpins, which will then lead him to the final 2 right-handers. We'll see how well he does as he makes his way around them.
Absolutely. Zainal Hazim, a very shallow entry into the corner there, just trying to see if he can carry a little bit of extra speed on the entry into the corner there. Uses all of the road and then some, perhaps just a little bit of a dirt drop coming out of the exit of that corner there. And let's see what lap time he is able to pull off. We're going to have a quick look. And it appears he may not have registered a lap time right then, so perhaps a bit of a warm-up attempt from Zainal Hazim, and he'll go for the run. Alright. Okay, so we're going to rejig a couple of bits and pieces in the background and make sure iRacing is ready and waiting for the race. But until then, we will just head off to intermission for just a minute and we'll be back very, very shortly indeed. Saifur Arifin, your current pole sitter. Top 5 in qualifying was Saifur Arifin, Ilham Halabi, Amir Faredian, Shami Aizan, James Russell, with Tukujan very close behind.
We've also got some of the other drivers who have set very fast qualifying lap times. Nasmi Masli, Afisul Jai, Jai Srinjali, Ahmad Norisam. These are the guys who round out your top 10. We've also got Nigel Chua and Eddie Adrian, 11th and 12th.
Yes, indeed. Further down the grid, we have Tuku Ershad in 13th, followed by Azam Manam in 14th, followed by Jay Chong, Lloyd Lachlan. Javier Alvarez is back with us. It's fantastic to see him back up on the grid. Ruben Wong and Dominic Ang in the midfield. Wicket Low and Kavinder Singh perhaps could have been higher, but they shouldn't be too hard on themselves. Kavinder Singh was in fact still within a second of the leader.
Got the rest of the other drivers who've got who have qualified for a lap time. So we've got guys Mavnajit Singh, Mircha Hafiz, Akib Asram, Amizi Yusuf, Muhammad Shukran, Muhammad Khalif, Matthew Graham, Fairuz Fazli, Azril Nazli, Zainal Hazim, Aaron Lim, Surin Selvaraju from the other side of the causeway, and you've also got Muhammad Zafi, who will round out your starting grid of 47 cars, and the Porsche pace car begins to roll off. Probably one of the few occasions where the pace car would be faster than the racing cars themselves.
Absolutely. For those of you not in the know, the pace car is in fact a modified Porsche Carrera Cup car, so perhaps a little bit of extra juice in that vehicle indeed. It looks like Lloyd Lachlan has to start from the pit lane, unfortunate from him, but Saifur Arifin, Ilham Harabi and Amir Faredian are getting themselves ready for the start. A little bit of a disjointed start there as the Porsches come across the line, and it looks like there's going to be a bit of a problem here because half the grid is still on, barely past the grid there, and Meanwhile, the drivers
Green
are
flag, green
on
flag.
the front stretch. Will we see a green flag? Yes, we do. So far, if it manages to go for that lead there, however, Jan looks like he's gone a little bit wide. Perhaps missed that braking zone there. They've declared it a start, so we're going to go with it. Perhaps it'll be a little bit easier for the guys because it's a little bit spread out here. Perhaps a little bit more of a safety margin there, but in any case, Saiful Arifin still leads from Ilham Halabi. James Russell has managed to really start very well indeed. He's up into 3rd position, so that's a fantastic start from him. Chama Azan in 4th, and Teguh Jan, the other URT car, is in 5th position.
So Saiful leads the rest of the grid, but of course he's coming under quite a lot of pressure from drivers like Ilham and James Russell. So Ilham started from 2nd. He did push his lap time all the way up to the 2nd place, so he's not got many cars to overtake if he wants to fight for the race lead. This is James Russell. He started from 5th. He climbed 2 positions, and he's now fighting for... Sorry, I just sneezed there. He's just now fighting for 2nd position, held by Ilham in front. Gosh, the weather here is so cold tonight.
Absolutely. Wondering if you can send some of that there our way. It's been a little bit warm today. I've been out on the bike finally, and yeah. But in any case, Teguh Janle has also managed to do a fairly good start. He's gone up 1 position, and he's now battling with Shami Aizan up ahead, who's going to really be under pressure from the URT cars in a few laps time. But it looks like this top 5 has begun to run away from the rest of the field there. They've started a little bit of a breakaway, to coin or use a term from cycling. Perhaps these guys might be able to run away fast enough.
Yeah, we've got a brilliant peloton of cars for the second half of the field. So you've got kind of a breakaway in the middle of the map, if you can see. But unlike cycling, we don't exactly have camera motorbikes between the different cars. It's just the cameras that we get to see mounted on the cars as well as along the side of the track. So you don't have those nice chase cameras that you see those road bikers take it down the descents. But now this is Ruben Wong. He's currently sitting in 12th position. He's got a very nice looking Uncle Racing Team paint scheme, and he's fighting. He's not exactly coming under a lot of pressure yet, but he's trying to mount some pressure on Javier Alvarez in 11th.
Absolutely, and another driver who's managed to, he seems to have gotten a really good start there. A 9 places gain for Ruben Wong. He's now in 12th position, and perhaps now that he can see the top 10 up ahead, he might be motivated to try and push just a little bit harder.
Teguh Janle, another of the Uncle Racing Team cars. Now I'm just trying to jog my memory. I try to recall which teams the different pace schemes represent. Of course, we've only got 1 pace scheme with the WhatsApp number. That's my favorite. Teguh Janle in 5th. Is trying to inch ever so slightly closer to Shamir Aizan, who sits in 4th, and he's just taking the next few corners as good as he can. So at this point, he's with the grid starting to space out. Slipstream will be ever more important for the cars to keep their pace.
Absolutely. Teguh Janle there catching up with Shamir Aizan coming into this braking zone. We might see a opportunistic move from Teguh Janle. You know that he has that ability under brakes that he's learned not just from circuit racing but from drifting as well, to position and maneuver the car there. But perhaps he decides not to go for it, but he has made up quite a lot of time on the RAB Pro Drag machine. Could we see an overtaking maneuver from Teguh Jan coming through this section there? Now coming on up into this infield straight, this short straight behind the pits there, this could be an opportunity for an overtaking maneuver, but it looks like Shamir Aizan manages to squeeze the throttle on just a little bit quicker than Teguh Jan. So perhaps the next overtaking point for Teguh Jan will be the start-finish straight.
So Shamir Aizan and Teguh Janle right now, the battle between these two drivers is kind of heating up already. So we could see moves take place every now and then. This is sandwich, but of course in sim racing, team orders aren't exactly in play, and everyone fights for their own race. So it's always going to be interesting to see that. So James Russell, and another of the Uncle Racing team cars, he's coming under a lot of pressure also from Shamir Aizan. So we could see how this will cook up as we take the next few corners. This is a 3-way battle pack for 3rd position. Of course, the gap between 3rd and 2nd would sit at a second, at 1.2 seconds. So that's still some ground that they still have to cover.
Absolutely. Another 3-way battle here is down in 18th position. Sharil Norafuddin battling hard with Muhammad Muhaimin, who's behind him there. They're trying to go side by side, coming up onto the back straight there, but discretion there definitely being the better part of valor. Up ahead is Amir Farid Yan, who is trying his best to pull away there, but it looks like Sharil Norafuddin really has a plate full of cars. Muhaimin tries to go on the inside. Will he be able to do it on the brakes? He decides not to. You can see the car really slow down at the last second there. Really fantastic battling here. Muhaimin definitely giving just enough space for Sharil to race safely, but not a single inch more.
So this is a dive down the inside, but of course he got cut off and he could not make that move work. So the position is still being defended by Norafuddin. Farid will have to try harder. We hear a car contact in the background. Something might have happened with some of the cars behind there. And this is in fact still around the top half of the grid. Of course, rounding out the top half of the grid are these drivers. They're now going top speed down the back stretch, and we're now moving ahead to have a look at Ahmad Norisam with Nigel Troy in front of him, and we'll see if any moves can emerge from here. A bit deep by Ahmad Norisam as he tried to bring all the speed that he can with the car around that corner. And right now it's back to the so-called the S's section. This is where you do slipstreams still do come into effect as you take your car around the section.
Absolutely. So these two drivers, you normally see them to further up in the field, but Nigel Chua and Amanur Azam, perhaps they like the faster, wider circuits when it comes to Kia Optima racing. Perhaps this tight and twisty Okayama circuit doesn't quite suit them just as much, but I'm sure they have the talent to try and adapt the car throughout the race and try and gain that position. The first position they're going to try is that man up ahead. Meanwhile, the replay there, Tuku Janle going into the inside. A beautiful maneuver going through there, and very, very accurate stuff indeed. Now coming into the final two corners there, that looks to be a fantastic overtaking maneuver indeed.
Great stuff indeed, and right now we're back to live pictures. Nazmi Masli still sits in 14th. In fact, he fell a couple of positions from where he began from, might be due to some incidents that happened at the start of the race. And we're now riding on the rearward facing camera of Iman Danish. Very nice to see some new names here, or maybe names that I've not been familiar with here. So we have a good view of the three-way battle that's going on behind him, and right now we're having a look at two of the cars that's in front of him that he's trying to find his way around. So ahead of him is Shami Asri, who is trying to first sit in a slipstream off before trying to perhaps look for a way around.
Absolutely. Iman Danish there doing quite well for himself. As you say, he is a bit of a rookie. It's only, I believe, his second or third race in the championship, and already he has managed to gain 12 positions in 6 laps. So that is quite the performance there from Iman Danish. Nigel Chua now, meanwhile, he's trying to go 3 wide with the other driver there. Let's see if they can make that work. Looks like Nazmi's been hung out to dry. That is another fantastic bit of racecraft there. Nigel Chua managing to sneak through in that 3 wide situation coming to the braking zone there. That's a fantastic maneuver by the outer house driver, but it's not over yet. Nazmi has another driver in the form of Amanur Azam, who's putting a lot of pressure on that silver Padawan car, coming up into the back, the third of the straights here at the back, into the final 2 corners there, and it looks like Nigel Chua has caught up with Iman Danish and his teammate has caught up with Nazmi Masli.
So now with Jay Chong, who sits in 7th position, he's also part of the Uncle Racing team, and he is a bit of a distance behind Jai Srin, the FCR Auto House FCR team car, and he's gone a little bit wide, and that's probably going to affect his pace right behind that. So Jai Srin is also trying hard to fend his position. Currently sits at 6th, and he'll be hard pressed to defend his position as he makes his way around this part of the track. So right now this is slipstream galore for the drivers. We'll see if the drivers can begin bunching up a little bit at this point.
Absolutely, and when you have more cars up ahead and more cars, stream effect just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Meanwhile, Akid Basarom is in a titanic battle with Arif Roslan, who is down there in 21st and 22nd position, but trust me, they'll be racing as hard as they would be if they were going for the race lead. Akid Basarom managing to climb up 15 positions there, which is quite a feat in the start there. Arif Roslan, he's gone a little bit wide there. Will Akid be able to go side by side coming into the infield section? He decides not to go for it, but it looks like Akid Basaram is extracting just a little bit more pace on his car than Arif Roslan.
So this is Arif Roslan. He sits in 21st, and we'll have a look at how he's able to keep the pressure of Akid Basaram behind him. So this, I think is when you've got the car breathing down your neck, not exactly in this case, but when you have a car breathing down your neck, sometimes it does get difficult to keep your concentration. As you can see with this bunch here, everyone's bumper to bumper, and that was a 2-wide entry. This is between Nigel Chua and I would believe Ivan Danish, who's right in front. So that was an overtaking attempt. And of course, with the cars now so closely bunched together, the pressures are high, and it's all about trying to keep the car on all four at this point.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the traditional Adrenaline Impact iRacing Malaysia Championship midfield battle. I almost feel like I have to sponsor a trophy or a bar Kit Kat to these guys, because they race like it is the World Championship. And it's always entertaining to see these midfield battles. In fact, we have two developing here between Azri, Danish, Nigel, Nazmi and Norazam, as well as further up the field we have Shamir, Jazrin, Chong, Irshad and Dominic is a little bit further behind there. But Nigel Chua is putting a lot of pressure on Iman Danish right now. Let's see if Iman can really withstand the pressure going through this section here. Of course, there's a bit of a danger zone up ahead. The braking point coming into this hairpin is a bit of a tricky one here, but it looks like both drivers ran a little bit wide through there, negating the mistake by Iman Danish. But look at how close that car is. I could almost read the serial number on the windscreen, ladies and gentlemen. That's how close Nigel Chua is to Iman Danish coming into the start-finish straight. Let's see if he is able to make some sort of overtaking maneuver work on the start-finish straight.
The cars begin to flash a little bit. So of course we're now still going to stay with them for the next couple of moments, because this battle is just so exciting. This is what what you get when you have front-wheel drive touring cars racing so close with each other. Now, of course, what's probably missing is bumper to fender rubbing racing action. Those are things that we see in real life. It's probably a bit more difficult to execute in the sim racing world, but nonetheless, it's very nice to see.
Absolutely, and may I say, it's been a remarkably clean start to the race there. 13 minutes in, and we haven't had too many large incidents going on through there. Perhaps a very laissez-faire start from the grid, but that just means that these guys managed to get away safely as they go through the corners. And it looks like the Outer House FCR gang are doing their usual magic trick of all apparently magically appearing together on the same screen in the same battle. These guys, of course, they're all about their consistency, and it is rather remarkable. They rise as a team and they fall as a team, but I'm pretty sure they would much prefer to be rising up through the leaderboards there, as Nigel Chua still looking to put a lot of pressure as we joined Tengku Irshad and his battle here.
So have a look at them attacking the first corner once again. So at this point, you would have, along the grid, if you do have a look at the minimap, the situation would be more of, various 5, 6, 7 car battle trains taking place, with some buffer distances between each battle train. So that would have that seems like how the battle situations have begun to emerge with the race here tonight. So you can see that Tengku Janlei had taken a slightly wider line through that right-hander, whereas Jaisrin took a tighter line. So around that corner, you can take both lines, and it's all about which line will allow your style of driving to take your car around there faster. Sometimes it's also down to how it's going to help you with your car positioning and overtaking. So if sometimes you're side by side, you can find that the outside line can in fact push your car out faster and take you to the main straight faster if you are able to handle it that way. Jaisrin coming under some pressure from not exactly pressure. He's got some more buffer between the cars here. The average gap between these cars would sit at 0.6 of a second, so it is still quite bordering uncomfortable, but still quite comfortable for these cars to handle.
Absolutely. Tolerable might be the best word there. But it looks like there's a car up ahead, Shame Aizan, who indulged himself in a little bit of rallycross, which has unfortunately sort of made him lose contact with the car up ahead. James Russell up in third position, and it looks like the guys behind him, Tengku Jan and Jezrin Jali, are going to get closer and closer to the car up ahead. But Jezrin Jali won't be worried too much about that. I am sure he will want to try and overtake Tengku Jan. Imagine what the talk at the Mamak shop will be after the race if he manages to fall off a nice, quick, clean overtaking maneuver on this man. A legend up ahead there, Tengku Jan Lei. It's absolutely fantastic to see a real-life racing driver with his experience battling against Jezrin Jali, a sim racer with perhaps a similar level of experience, all things considered.
Of course, worth noting that Jaisrin, back in the day when he did race in the Sim Racers Asia Sports Cars series, he was also among the front runners, so do not underestimate his pace. He can shoot and kill whenever he wants to. Sometimes it's just because he chooses to hold back, and that's why you're surviving. Now we're with Tengku Jan Lei, and these are cars who have kind of traded paints a little bit. Even if it's between teammates, it does happen. So you've got Shami Aizan, who tried to perhaps go along the inside and is hidden behind there again. So we have a look at the replay of Taufik Tahir and see what exactly happened here.
Absolutely, Taufik Tahir looking very racy behind that there, and he tried to give back the position there. He is definitely backed off in that situation, but very unfortunate for that Padawan driver. I didn't catch the number of that man there, but Taufik Tahir just going a little bit too deep under the brakes.
Yeah, sometimes with these cars, it's easy to kind of overcook your car a little bit and make some mistakes here and there. But nonetheless, they're still holding up very well. They're still tackling the corners very well indeed. A bit more damaged car that Tengku Jan Lei has, but I don't think that'll affect his performance that much. So I think he was the car that kind of traded paints with another car. So he's coming under some pressure from Shamir Aizan. And of course, the positions have kind of changed a fair bit. If you do have the cars in the top 10, top 11 of the grid, in fact, they're all drivers who have gained multiple positions throughout the whole race. We're still not at the halfway point of the race yet, so pit window has yet to open. Once that does happen, we'll see position changing a lot more, and that will be very much exciting.
Absolutely. Now, normally I would remind you, the audience, that these guys do have a bit of an option when it comes to either pitting once or pitting twice. But at this track, to be honest with you, absolutely the single stop option is going to be the way to go forward unless you have a real big problem. Ooh, as Tengku Jan there really putting the pressure on his teammate, James Russell. I know these URT guys, they're going to race each other just as hard as they would race any other team. And it's going to be a very exciting battle between these two drivers. The kudos of being in third position definitely up for grabs right there. But yeah, when it comes to the pit situation, it's going to be fairly cut and dry. These drivers are going to try and make it to the midpoint of the race, or perhaps just a little bit past that before heading into the pits.
So now we're having a look at, wow, so many blue cars we had a glimpse of. Sorry, just caught me by surprise. That was hardly every car has turned blue, and now they've all turned green because we're looking at the rear end. Sorry, I was used to seeing the different paint schemes from last night. You know, we had a big variety, and right now we've got a different kind of variety of paint schemes. So we're now looking at the 17th position car. He's sitting in 17th. That's Nazmi Masli's. Unfortunately, he's dropped 10 positions from the start of the race. So, you know, he'll be trying his best to clamber his lost positions. The cars in front of him are Farid, Shami Azri, as well as Ahmad Norris. These are all the Autohouse FCR cars that are fighting out in front.
Yes, indeed, and as we can see there, Ahmed Farid going through the corner there. Perhaps Autohouse FCR, if they don't find any more success in sim racing, and I really doubt if that will happen, but if they are looking for a new career, perhaps they could try a precision driving team, because they always seem to end up in the same screen during this broadcast, definitely giving their sponsors a lot of value for money there. And we can see there's a car that's gone in, a URT driver, perhaps some of these guys. That's Jay Chong coming into the pits, and perhaps we might see the very start of the pit lane window.
So this is probably a point where drivers are kind of deciding whether or not to pit earlier or pit later, because the window is not exactly, you know, those kind of 1-2 lap matter of things. A window does span a few laps, many laps in fact, and sometimes it could go even up to 15 minutes. So it's all up to how long drivers want to spend in the pits, or how much fuel they want to carry for the rest of the race. It all goes down to their driving styles. And you know, it's not all the time that, you know, a lighter car is faster. Sometimes you find that when you have more fuel on your car, sometimes you are able to balance it a little easier. And now I would find so when I'm driving a GT cars, I prefer my car full instead of empty. Just me. And this is Nigel Chua. He's sitting right ahead already. He's sitting behind Ruben Wong. So Ruben's going on the defensive. He's going along the inside, and so does Nigel Chua. He follows inside and now go back out again. And it's decided, interestingly, to back off rather earlier, and you know that sometimes that can play into an advantage if you do take an early, a slow entry and a fast exit.
Absolutely. Sometimes when it comes to racing, it would be best if you don't take the first opportunity that's handed to you. You want to sort of learn the man ahead, how he drives, how he defends, and how he takes the racing line, just so that when you do make that overtaking maneuver, you'll be able to slip by him that much easier. But it looks like Nigel Chua is slowly finding out what quickest times are. Ilham Halabi, he was in second position. Now he's going to drop a few more places as himself. Russell, Tuku Jan, Shami Aizat, Tuku Ursha, and Dominic Ang, and Alvarez. Javier Alvarez have all gone into the pits. It looks like lap 15 was the magic number for the majority of the front runners there. So we'll see all of them coming in. I'm sure some of them were responding to the cars up ahead and the cars behind them pitting.
Race leader is still Saiful Arifin. He began here and he's pretty much held the lead for most of the race. And I think you know, in the next moments we would see him perhaps making the move into the pits. So he leads Jaiswin. Jaiswin trails him, and what will look like is kind of a battle behind that between Jaiswin and us and Nigel Chua. Very good to see the both of them racing. So you know, in the next moments as they take it into the pits, but before taking it into the pits, you know, the race still goes on. You know, overtaking does not stop when the pit window opens. That's something that I've learned the hard way when many cars decided to pass me when I decided to slow down before pitting in. We're now with Nazmi Masli. He's in 5th place, and another thing, you know, I really enjoy the Padawan paint scheme because it gives you the kind of the effect of those World War II warbirds. And we're now with Ilham, who's just made his way out of the pits, and so did Tengku Irshad right behind him. And you know, right now we're just having a look at we're now having a look at Saiful Arifin, who's gone into the pits. So he will be the first, will be the kind of race leader who's going into the pits, and this is where the race lead will begin to shuffle about.
Absolutely. Now the trick is going to be, will Saiful Arifin be able to take advantage of the shorter pit stop, having run one more lap than most of his competitors? Ilham Halabi has now come out in 9th position there. As you can see, Saf Arifin was the last of the first batch of teams to stop, if that makes any sense. He was part of that group of runners that all pitted in lap 15, but he decided to just pit slightly out of sync, which, as you guys probably know in endurance racing, that is a very handy strategy indeed to have. We always try to, myself personally, I've always tried to get my guys to pit in a little bit earlier or a little bit later than the majority of the people. It's just a cleaner run into the pits, and also you can sometimes gain just a little bit of time by running with a little bit of less fuel for the first or second stint.
Oh, and we have a look at Muhammad, who's gotten spun by the car behind of him, and that was unfortunate. This is replay, in fact, and you know that means that he's going to lose even more positions.
Absolutely, it looks like Calvin Howe was involved in that as well. A real pity, because they were doing relatively well for themselves until that point, but it just goes to show one small mistake and you can really put a good result in jeopardy. Saiful Arfid now comes out in 5th position, so he's ahead of James Russell, he's ahead of Tiku Irshad, but he is behind Ilham Halabi. Could Ilham have taken the lead, the effective lead, once the Jezri, Nigel and Azri come in for the pits? Could it be that Ilham Halabi has managed to get himself a position just through pit strategy alone?
So have a look at the cars who've come out of the pit. So I think at this point most cars have already made their pit stops. They've made their pits within a 2-3 lap window, so it's all around the ranges of like a lap 13, lap 14, where most of the cars have made their pit stops. So right now your provisional race leader is Ilham Halabi with Saiful Arifin in second. So Ilham has kind of jumped Saiful in that sense, but Jaisrin is going to exit the pits. We're going to see where exactly he joins ahead of Ilham. Is he going to join a far distance ahead? It would appear so. So Jaisrin, probably your new race leader, is come out ahead of Ilham. And he's got a 3-second lead. So I'll be very much interested to see how well he's going to be able to hold on to this race lead, because he's made such a huge leap ahead.
Absolutely, that was an amazing strategic call by Joseph Jelly, and he's managed to come out ahead of the cars he was behind. He was behind Ilham and Saiful for sure. I believe he was behind James Russell and Tagujan as well. But that was absolutely fantastic. As I saw there on the graphics, he had gained 8th position. I believe 4 or 5 of those was just in that pit stop alone. So some very, very clever strategic moves being made out there on track, especially considering the pit stops.
So Uncle Racing Team domination at this point. Everyone's Uncle Racing Team at this section of the field is a takeover by the uncles. Of course, these are very fast racing drivers, and I would imagine some of them are also very fast drivers in real life as well. I was saying that because there's no motorsports in Singapore, so it's not something that I can understand. Oh, a move, an overtaking move. So that means that there's probably there was a dive inside, and it is James Russell and Tengku Chande who've made the move ahead of Dominic. So Dominic's lost 2 positions at one go. Now from far it's going to be. Oh, sorry, that was Matthew Graham. Yeah.
So yeah, there was. I don't blame you for that slight confusion, considering it was a sea of purple, pink and black out there. But Matthew Graham, who's one of the drivers in this crew, is in fact a lap down. So perhaps they were just sort of using a little bit of team order style driving just to make sure everybody gets past everyone else safely through there. But perhaps the URT team taking a leaf out of the Outer House FCR Garage playbook by making sure everyone is very close together and as far up the field as possible. I don't know about you, but I think that is a good plan indeed. So let's see if Tagujan can improve his position, and let's see if these guys can catch up to the cars up ahead.
So we're past the halfway mark of the race, which means that drivers have only around 15 minutes to go to try to gain as many positions as they can. So in the background there, you can see some of the drivers going a little more aggressive on their racing line, but right now it is James Russell who's defending his 5th place position from Tengku Janlei. So these are the positions that these two drivers have begun from the start of this race. And they're just going to hold. If they can fight it out, they'll just hold on to it as they progress throughout the race. So right now they're going to approach the final couple of corners. This left-right hairpin sequence is where sometimes you can confuse the car in front of you and try to make an overtaking move work.
Absolutely, and Tengku Janlei there, he's definitely showing that he can get closer to the apex than James Russell can. This is a bit of an old school trick. If you can show that you can put your nose closer to the apex than the guy up ahead, if the guy is too busy looking into his mirrors, he'll be too amazed by the fact that you somehow going that quickly and with that tight a line. A bit of a psychological trick from Tengku Janlei just to try and psych out his opponent up ahead. It's all relatively friendly fun, however, as of course these two guys are from the same URT stable, but it looks like they've managed to pull away from their stable mates. This is definitely sort of an example, a very rare example of a battle that's actually speeding up both cars as opposed to slowing them down, because usually when you're in a wheel-to-wheel battle you do tend to slow down just a little bit compared to the cars around you. Imad Danish is now going door to door with Ahmad Nourazam there, and looked like there was a little bit of a netcode issue there. That's when the car lags out momentarily, and perhaps Imad Danish just got himself in slightly the wrong place in comparison to Ahmad Nourazam. A very simple mistake, a very easy mistake to make. I wouldn't be too hard on Imad for that little bit of contact, and nevertheless they're still battling very nicely indeed out there around the track. Meanwhile, another battle again. Like I said, these guys are racing like it's the end of the World Championship. This is like the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but these guys are just fighting to get into the top 20. And this is the fantastic part about this sort of racing, is that the battles up and down the field really do liven up the spectacle, not just for the fans of the guys out the front, but the guys down here. Akid Basram, for those of you who are not in the know, he is an MSF Superbike rider by trade, and he's definitely transferring those skills over to the sim racing world.
Very much, two-wheel motorsports sometimes can get even way more exciting than racing. I do understand of some friends, who very much prefer watching MotoGP over any other form of four-wheel motorsports, and it's just so amazing that you do have motorcycle racing riders come onto the four-wheel sim racing platform, which unfortunately at this time we don't exactly have motorbike sims that are available as yet. So this is Ruben Wong, who sits in 13th. Shamir Azri is in 12th, and right now we will see if he's able to make something work. So I think the Uncle Chain gang has been broken up a little bit. We're now having a look at Nigel Chua behind Jay Chong. So this is something that he's probably trying to make work.
Absolutely, and who else to break up the crowd of URT than the team who likes to run around in a crowd themselves, the Outer House FCR team. This is going to be very interesting from a championship perspective, because these guys are battling out for the sharp end of the championship order, and it'll be very interesting to see how this works out. It's almost like they're dogfighting, but with the entire team, two entire teams sort of working through each other and trying to race with each other. Absolutely fantastic stuff indeed. And I do have to mention that it does appear that this time around there is a lot of good, clean racing. Perhaps the cleanest we've seen so far. I must say, I might be a little bit ashamed to say that seeing how tight and twisty and how notorious Okayama is for big pile-ups and incidents, it's fantastic to see that these drivers have managed to keep it clean and keep the race flowing.
Absolutely, and this is Nigel Chua, who's coming under some pressure from his own teammate Ahmad Nourazam as well, but that will take some time to take into effect. And this is him going along the inside, he turns, he comes into contact with Jay Chung, but Jay still returns and he's able to save his car, and that wasn't some was expressing some of his frustrations over there, but they've still managed to keep the cars on all fours, so this battle will still continue throughout the rest of the race. So Nigel Chua, he's going to try to find other ways to make the move. He's going to go bumper to bumper once again. This is just getting so close and so feisty. Very much like to see what happens next.
Absolutely, perhaps a little bit hot under the collar for both drivers here. We've gotten a little bit of that spice back that I was saying was missing throughout the race there. A lot of tactical driving happening, very strategic battles happening throughout the race here, but it's nice to see that at least two of the drivers are still engaging in a little bit of wheel-to-wheel, bumper-to-bumper contact there. Nigel Chua tries to square off the corner and drag race Jay Chong, but it doesn't quite work there. Now he's going to try and make something work down the main straight here. It doesn't quite work out for him, but it looks like Jay Chong's gone a little bit wide. Will that give them an opportunity to make that overtaking maneuver work? They're side by side going through the S's there. Who is going to yield first? They touch around the corner there, and Jay Chong and Nigel Chua are still door to door all the way through the S's there. That's going to be an absolutely epic maneuver. Coming into the braking zone here, they're still touching, they're still side by side, and Nigel Chua manages to make that overtaking maneuver work. It may be messy, but it looks like Nigel Chua manages to get that position. Wow, that was an amazing sequence of events.
There's got Armand Ursum right behind him as well, so both teammates are now together once again. So this is very much a battle between the Uncle Racing team and the Outdoors FC. So it's something that the Stewards might be looking at towards the end of the race. But right now we're with Tengku Jianlei, who's so we're in 6th, and we're going to have a look at Saiful Arifin for next couple of moments, and we see if he's able to regain the race lead. So Jaiswin made the 8 positions to go up to first to lead the race, and this white product paint scheme just so nice to look at. I really like this. So Saiful is in 3rd. He's behind his teammate Ilham in 2nd. So I think with both of them being teammates, it could very much be a case of both of them deciding to work together to try to close that gap with Jaiswin Jali. Now, Max, a couple of months ago, I covered an event that was in fact a race event hosted by Rotex Karting themselves. They did their first sim race. That was their first sim racing event on ever, and they did it on iRacing. It was the Skip Barbers on Okayama circuit. And what I noticed about the cars racing in that specific series was that the cars in front, throughout most of the race, they never changed positions. The top 5 cars, they were all in one single file together. They did not bother changing positions, and that allowed them to kind of form a huge breakaway from the rest of the field. The battling only took place around the last 2 laps.
Absolutely, and that's an example of working together with the cars around you. It's another sort of simile that I can take from cycling, where sometimes when you see with the breakaway, and you see this a lot more often, I'd say, in oval racing, when you'll see groups of cars that are perhaps not from the same team or even not from the same manufacturer working together to try and move up through the field or to try and break away from the chasing pack. So it really is, it comes down to the driver's sort of mentality, the driver's sort of racing instinct. Shall we work together to try and improve all of our positions and then leave the battling to the last lap, make it exciting for the fans, or do we battle now, try and sort out the running order, and then try and chase after the cars up ahead? Really a very interesting sort of philosophical question whilst you're being sat in a very loud, very noisy race car heading towards the horizon.
Yeah, and that does kind of make decision making ever so difficult, when you're in such an environment. But with us being in in our sim cockpit, more likely than not, we do have the aircon. Not that I do, but you see, it does sim racing. It does make the environment a bit more conducive for you to decide. So this is Kelvin Ha, who's they're going to go bumper door to door, in fact. And this is Kelvin Ha and Aki Basram, who are going to duke it out across the final few corners. They do not make contact, in fact, and just taking the position out of the other driver just like that. So it is a side-by-side drag race. Which driver is going to be able to kind of make it work it's going to be either Calvin Ha or Aki Basrov. So, oh, this is him. The Toda car goes around, and unfortunately, I've jinxed it, just as you have in the past, Max. And goes Arcade around.
Oh no, I've given you my commentator's curse. Now we're both doomed. But that looked to be an absolutely amazing run by both drivers. I was just going to say myself that it looked to be an absolutely exciting, clean race, but unfortunately, Aki Basram got a little bit turned around on the apex there. And that's very unfortunate for him. He drops down to only having 9 positions gained from the start, as opposed to the amazing, 18? He might be a little bit annoyed by that, understandably, but well, there you go. In racing, on occasions, sometimes stuff happens and you just have to deal with it. Javier Alvarez is back with us. He had to skip round 3, but now he is back and he is looking very, very pretty indeed in that 14th position. Yeah, that would explain. I was just about to say 15th position, but I was just being informed in my ear that Amanorizam unfortunately has disconnected, which is very unfortunate indeed. Amanorizam, he's had a little bit of connectivity issues throughout the last couple of months there, so he is hoping that his telco will be able to sort his internet connection out, but that must be gutting for Amanorizam.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him. He was having such a good race, and now we're gonna have a look at Arif Roslan, who's having such a good battle with Jay Chung. Both, no, they're not in the same team. This is SSAD Team SSAD that Arif Roslan is in. He's sat behind Jay Chung, and he's going to perhaps think of a move in the next couple of corners because they're now so close together. This is a right-hand hairpin, and if you're much closer, you can dig an overtaking move here, but right now he's probably going to push it to the next couple of corners and kind of find a window to overtake over the next few corners.
Absolutely. Arif Roslan knows this more than most. He did a fantastic job around the Charlotte Roval. Unfortunately, just fell a little bit short in the end. This is perhaps more the position that he would have expected himself to be in at the start of the season. It is perhaps in a weird sort of way very nice for him to say that he'll be a little bit disappointed with 13th place considering his previous efforts right up into second position, but he has gained 5 positions from his starting grid and he might just gain 1 more here. Will he be able to make an overtaking maneuver happen here? No, he decides not to. Perhaps he is trying to go for an overtaking maneuver on the back straight. That seems to be a very popular place to try and make things work there, but he's definitely trying to fill Jay Chung's mirrors up as much as possible. Arif Roslan using a little bit of sort of psych tactics, psyops in full swing here, coming through this right-hander there, and it looks like Jay Chung's gone a little bit wide, and Arif Roslan's going to go side by side with Jay Chung all the way down the back straight here. Who is going to be able to get the run, and more importantly, who's going to be able to brake later coming into the hairpin? As they count down the meters, 150, 100, they hit the brakes, and it looks like Jay Chung's able to brake just a little bit later, but Arif Roslan carries a little bit more speed into the apex, and it looks like Arif Roslan manages to make that maneuver stick, and that is a very hard-fought and well-earned 12th place from Arif Roslan, but something tells me that Jay Chung will be back for more.
We are now towards the final moments of the race, so if Jay Chung wants it back, he will have to think quick, he will have to make his actions quick, and have to make it work, and he will have to make it decisive. Because of course with these cars, if you're not decisive with one overtaking move, your next opportunity will only come many moments later. It is the case with cars like these, and Iman Danish has taken it into the pits. It might appear that he might have sustained some damage, or he might require some additional fuel to complete the race. We're back with Tengku Jan Lei, who's racing his teammate James Russell. This is for 5th position, and now we're with Nigel Chua, and he's now fighting behind Dominic Ang, so we'll see how this turns out.
Absolutely, very interesting indeed. Let's see if Nigel Chua is able to make this overtaking maneuver work on Dominic Ang. He tries to slide it up along the inside there. There's not a lot of space there. They make contact coming into the back stretch there. Nigel Chua is all the way on the left-hand side and Dominic was all the way on the right. He's trying to put the squeeze on Nigel Chua. This is typical defensive driving there, wants to try and reduce the gap a little bit, and it looks like Nigel Chua just about almost ran out of room there, but he manages to squeeze it through over the apex of the turn, and he managed to bring himself up into 7th place. Nigel Chua really out there fighting as hard as possible to bring Outhouse FCR as many points as he can. But right now, it's going to be the final lap for Jaswin Jali, and he crosses the line. He has won round 4 of the AIMC Season 2 here at Okayama. A fantastic result for him. Ilham Labi manages to hold off Saiful Arifin, only 0.12 seconds between the two Todat Motorsports car. Tuku Irshad comes across the line in 5th place, and James Russell will be very happy with that 5th place, I am sure. Tuku Jan comes in 6th place, but this battle is still going on right now. Nigel Chua crosses the line, Dominic crosses the line. Arif Roslan has just about got the upper hand here. Some of the drivers are going to try and go for a last lap overtaking maneuver. That really started to get really interesting indeed at the start of the race there, didn't it? At the end of the race, rather.
What an exciting race. Now, of course, it was all topped off by the battles between the Uncle Racing team and the Auto House FCR guys. Well, of course, this is sim racing, and whatever happens, you'll still walk out of out of your cockpit with your 4 limbs still attached to you, and that's always good. And now we're just looking at some of the other cars who are making their way around. This is Matthew Hafiz. He's also part of Toda Motorsports. Very, very interesting, and he's sat behind Aaron Lim, not able to make that overtaking move work. And I would very much like to see the drivers do a parade lap today, but they're now probably going to go for a photo shoot.
Absolutely, the traditional photo shoot right there. They're going to wait till everyone comes across the line. It looks like one of the Padawan cars missed his braking mark just ever so slightly there. But Jaswin Jali, fantastic pit call there. That pit lane strategy really working out for him, managing to leapfrog the Todat Motorsport guys up ahead there. An Outer House FCR Performance Team A member has taken another win. Jaswin Jali takes it home in 1st place. Ilham Halabi in 2nd position, followed by Saiful Arfid in 3rd. Tuku Irshad is in 4th, followed by James Russell, Tuku Jan Lei, Nigel Chua, Dominic Ang, Arif Roslan, and Ruben Wong in 10th.
So a couple of the other guys, Jay Chung finishes in 11th, and Javier Alvarez comes home 12th. Nazmi Mazdi, Shami Aisan 13th and 14th. Shami Asri, Muhammad Muhammad, Wicked Low, and Eddie Adrian 15th through to 18th. We're just looking at some slow motions of some of the cars who have made the race. And
absolutely, further down the field we see Sarel Norafudit in 21st position. Aaron Lim, his return to the series in 24th, followed by Malchil Hafiz in 25th position. Mavidajit Singh perhaps didn't quite wind that car up to its full potential, but I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with that position there. It looks like there's only 2 cars that were a lap down. Would you believe it? On this timing screen here, and Surin Savaraju has managed to get himself into 34th position on his debut for Club Automobilista Hermanos Veloces, who've picked up quite a few points there with Javier's result. Now, as we see Jaswin Jali, they do in fact. This is a replay here. I was just going to say I thought they were in a little bit of a conga line throughout the track there. We might have been able to see a little bit of action there, but Jaswin Jali did a fantastic job at the start of the race. He was in fact in the peloton, if you will, the second group, whilst the breakaway ran away with it there, and I must say that was absolutely a very interesting race indeed.
Okay, we have Ilham.
So hi. We have a podium driver in the virtual studio right now. Apa khabar Ilham Labi?
Baik.
So bagaimana race kali ni?
Race kali ni agak relax. Walaupun pit strategi tak kurang menjadi, itulah, tapi kesian pada to saya Ipin. Dia dapat nombor 3 kan. Tapi apa pun podium tahniah Ipin and to JJ, memang strategi terbaik.
So memang nampaknya pada kali ni strategi lah yang deciding factor di dalam race ni.
Yes, itu yang kita nak terapkan. Bukan clock time, bukan lap time, the fastest lap time, tapi strategi.
Itu dia, nampaknya kali ni tak cuba start daripada belakang ya.
Yang ni tak berani. Tapi kalau semalam punya race, yang untuk Merdeka Endurance punya race, yes.
Itu dia, dan kita ada Jazrin Jali di dalam studio pada malam ini. Hai Jazrin.
Oh, mic dia off tu.
Alamak.
So it's okay. We move him back to the server.
Yeah. We're going to slip Jazrin Jali back there. Meanwhile, perhaps we could have a bit more of a chat with Ilham Halabi. So Ilham, apa yang aspek paling challenging pada race kali ni?
Aspek paling challenging actually to manage pace. Kita orang ada communicate lah dekat Discord kan dengan Ipin kan untuk manage pace. So nampak kalau ada kereta slow, then kita try to menjadi. Tu yang aspek paling challenging.
Okay. So itu dia Ilham Halabi, our podium finisher in second place.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll try to grab hold of May Farid, maybe. Wait,
Alright, we're just looking for a few more racers to interview while we're in the studio right now. But that was an absolutely amazing race, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was such a crazy, a whole crazy night, in fact. And we've seen so many battles take place. They were all so exciting, and some maybe even borderline controversial. But of course, stewards will definitely look into the whole race as they always do. These are the people who ensure that the drivers, everyone has an enjoyable, meaningful race. Week in and week out.
Absolutely, and in the virtual studio we do have Amir Farid Abdul Ghani. That's one of our drivers down there, Amir Farid. Amir Farid, apa khabar?
Hi Max, hi Rehan, hi all. Very good.
So how was the race for you?
It started quite well, but I had a VR starter during the starting into the turn 1, so I missed late break, and unfortunately at the long straight before the hairpin starter again, I accidentally tapped behind my teammate. So that is not a good race for me. I'm glad that JJ won the race. Thank you so much. Congrats to him. But I'm still headache from lap 17 till finish. So I'm quite a little bit want to vomit.
That is the trouble.
Yeah.
That is the trouble when you have a problem. Frame rate drop in VR, it can become a bit of an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Norazam had a problem,
Azam unfortunately had internet disconnection, so I have confirmed with him that he had a problem with his internet connection. So unfortunate for him, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. I do see we saw Saifur Rifin there just peek into the studio. He opened the door and said hi to us just now there, so we'll perhaps get his thoughts later on in the broadcast. But overall, I think we definitely had fewer incidents during this race than the previous one there. I mean, Farid, did you notice anything at the start of the race? Because it did seem like the cars were a little bit more spread out than usual.
I'm glad that the first stint of the race is quite amazing. Which is most of the racer is really behaved this time, and yeah, it's a good race with a very close fight between the position 1 and until position 6. So unfortunately I'm not in that position, so yeah, a little bit frustrated, but I'm glad the race all is quite clean, but just a little bit of a few incident happen, which is we will do a couple of small protests, but yeah, I'm glad the race is quite clean.
Absolutely, and hopefully you'll be able to climb back up the leaderboard for the next round.
Thank you so much.
Malam ni
Hai
barai.
Michael. Hai Michael.
Hello.
So apa khabar? Bagaimana race
hello.
malam ni ya bagi Macam?
Semuanya berjalan lancar dan untuk Michael sendiri, itulah keputusan dia nombor 25. Nothing much to expect sebab start pun belakang, lepas tu ada blocking lagi waktu starting tu, so memang dah lost habis lah dengan frontliner kan. So kita buat macam biasalah, ada juga berlaku beberapa touching tadi, tapi semuanya settle. It's okay. Dan tahniah kepada juara Jazrin dan juga kepada Ilham dan Syafiq Arifin serta semua racer yang bertanding malam ni, dan okey lah, good race. Mungkin ada biasa macam race tu, biasalah ada orang accident, ada yang marah dan ada yang menang happy kan, tapi move on untuk next round. Jangan marah-marah lagi.
Itu dia, that's the spirit. So macam apa perasaan nampak dua-dua teammate di dalam podium pada kali ini?
Perasaan memang happy lah, memang sebagai nak kata ketua pasukan Todak Motorsport kan. So kita happy untuk Todak Motorsport. Dua-dua driver ada kat depan, for sure point collect untuk team tu adalah yang tertinggi. Dan juga happy.
Yeah. Itu dia, memang riang-ria juga race kali ni ya.
Ya, ada biasalah race ni asam garam, ada manis ada pahit kan. So bukan setiap masa kita menang, bukan setiap masa kita kalah, so kita keep improvise lah.
Ya, itu dia. So ada apa-apa shout out lagi pada Michael nak bagi kepada fans-fans anda yang di sana?
Kepada semua yang menonton live Adrenaline Impact, terima kasih. Kepada yang share tu pun terima kasih banyak. Dan siapa yang menonton tanpa share tu, next time ringan-ringankan tangan untuk share, gratis saja kan, free benda tu. Bersama kita support industri motorsport di negara kita ni. E-sport ni adalah satu cabang masa depan untuk motorsport. So kepada orang yang ramai minat, yang berminat, so boleh cuba-cuba untuk try dulu simulator ni. Di banyak kan tempat dekat negara kita ni yang ada simulator, boleh try feel. So yang seperti yang kita sedia maklum, yang nak race kereta betul agak mahal. So simulator ni adalah alternatif kepada sukan bermotor yang sebenar. So boleh belajar racing line, racecraft semua dulu sebelum kita menceburkan diri di dalam real racing.
Okay, thank you Cil. Thank you.
Ya, welcome.
Terima
Sorry terlampau panjang lebar.
Apalah.
We're trying to get hold of Afizul Jai. Dia sponsor ni, one of the sponsors dalam series ni Jai.
Yeah. So we'll try and look for one or two more of the drivers before we sign off there. There we have Afizul Jai with us. Hi Afizul.
Hello.
Hi. So Afizul Jai, bagaimana anda pada kali ini?
For myself, today is not a good race day.
Weh, helmet pink. Jai hutang sate dengan kita ramai ni.
Boleh 5,000 tutup pun boleh. Soalan
5,000 cucuk.
lambat. Tapi salah iRacing lah, dia off engine lah, tak boleh start tadi.
Dia biji.
So what happened?
Bukan aku yang minta, engine tak boleh start.
Ya. Bukan kau pintar lahir ke dunia.
Bukan minyak, tak ada apa-apa.
Okay. Any feedback tanya?
So Afizul, bagaimana race? Bagaimana feedback anda pasal race pada kali ini?
Congrats to the top 5 Malaysia. When I heard the Jazlin lah, the full saving technique dia memang tetap.
Yeah.
I dapat dengar. Kalau macam mana pun Ilham masa itu cuba, tapi Jazlin tetap failure dalam bak fuel saving.
Itu dia. Dan pada dari pihak Android King ada apa-apa harapan untuk next race nanti?
I think tonight very positif sebab dekat live radio tu pun quite okay, cuma last lah. Sebelah tu many people tengah investigate sekarang lah kenapa dia ada macam satu isu tu. Tapi other than that nampak very smooth.
Absolutely. Di sebelah kami pun kita nampak yang race yang agak tenang dan agak smooth for the most part. So it looks like it's going to be a nice finish to the season hopefully.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much to Afizul Jai and to all the drivers who spoken to us for our little interview session there. So
Alright.
yeah, we're gonna take one more. We'll try and take one more call in the studio right now. I feel almost like a radio DJ at this point. Wei-Han, why don't you have a quick chat with Calvin?
Oh, hi, Calvin. Well, very nice to speak to you. In the things I've never spoken to anyone in this race before. So, look, I think we've seen how these cars present such an intense level of competition. The kind of style of racing we see here is very much, in some ways, similar to the MX-5s from last season, and some ways different. You can't get away with rubbing bumpers much here.
Yeah.
So look, can you tell us what you think about the racing that's been happening thus far this season, and what you think about racing with these cars?
This car actually good for all the racer, not even the old racer or the newcomer racer. Is good for them to start off because it's a front wheel car, and I think most of the people we are driving a front wheel car, so we can easily handles what situations that emergency situation. So for all the racer, I see from each race is you can see some improvement lah. Improvement.
Oh, that's really interesting, man. Because I can never understand how to drive a front wheel drive car. I tried the other one. I tried the Audi RS3, the TCR, and it's just something that it was a bit difficult for me to get used to. But I don't understand that.
Yeah, but definitely you have to take a good care for the front tires because we are dragging most of the time. So maybe you can just do some own study that which lap the tire going off. You can change your driving style. So by lap, so you're changing your driving style to let the car to suit the pace lah.
Okay, Kelvin, you are owner of Precision Sim Racing and bosku. So thank you for supporting this series lah. Ada apa-apa item baru atau promo yang nak sebut?
At the moment tak ada lagi, but on the way. So I just will kita go on through my Facebook. or maybe I just introduce the products on Discord or either on our SIE group.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we'll be looking forward to that. Good job there, Wehan.
Okay, congratulations for finishing the race lah. Very tight juga lah hari ni kan.
Tight, betul tight. Yeah,
tapi tak banyak
fight,
yang major punya crash, okay lah. Tapi
no. It's like macam saya cakap, everyone is up to this. If you have a level awareness or how to fight or rub each others, you know. It's good. Thanks, Enduring Impact. Yeah.
Okay. See you
All
soon.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was Calvin Ha, owner of Precision Sim Racing and the hot shoe driver in this particular car right here, the 778 FR Auto Sports car. I do feel a little bit sorry for hogging most of the drivers during these interviews. So maybe we'll share the burden just a little bit for the next round, eh?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, but what's your final thoughts for this race so far?
Well, I think if every race were like that, I think it would be really, really exciting for everyone. Of course, sometimes there will be incidents here and there, but of course, we always have to have stewards who are committed to ensuring that fair races will take place with each race. So, I think it's just great that racing has been this close, this action-packed, and as always, we've seen battles taking place all throughout the field, and not just like everyone suddenly getting all spaced out and only battling happening up front. So that was so amazing, and I just can't wait to see what else, what more this kind of racing that we'll be presented with.
Absolutely, and I think I can share a little bit more about what's going to happen in round 5, because I do believe we're going to a very legendary circuit indeed, because if I have my notes right, we are headed to Spa, and a little bit of a change from this weekend's race. We're going to a endurance multi-driver layout, so that's going to be interesting indeed.
Oh, that's going to be really, really interesting indeed. Of course, with endurance racing, suddenly the dynamics of racing will change. So you're no longer fighting on your own. You're also kind of sharing the burden, the responsibility of ensuring that you take good care of your car and you do well in the race with someone else. So you are very much racing for the driver for your own teammates. So I think that's just going to perhaps put even more emphasis on the importance of teamwork. Even within sim racing, it is also very big thing. If drivers do spend a lot of time practicing next week for the next track, it's all going to go down the wire. Especially when you're sharing a car, you want to ensure that the efforts of your teammate doesn't kind of go down the drain, so to speak. And your drivers will kind of want to try their best to do well. And also, because it's endurance racing, we should expect drivers to push less, because the races will be much longer, and in this sense, it's better if it will be more effective if drivers were to kind of space out their car, hold back a little more, just to ensure that the driver can last a little longer.
Absolutely, and in any case, it's going to be a very exciting weekend up ahead. We have a few other guys who have liked the stream. Hi to Incheck Bob, a friend of Adrenaline Impact out there, as well as Cheryl Norford and all the other guys out there. And we're definitely going to be looking forward to the next race at Spa-Francorchamps. A little bit of a revival of the Merdeka Millennium Endurance race in theme, if anything else. But all that really remains for me to say right now is to thank our sponsors: Works Engineering, Lucas Oil, Precision Sim Racing, that's Calvin Haas firm, Android King, represented by Afizul Jai out there on track, and our supporter for this season, Motorsports Association of Malaysia. I've been Max Palmer. A special thanks to our commentator Chan Wei Han and our director Kara Alang, and we will see you all in the next one. Ta-ra!